There is always one current issue in every field, regardless of what that field is. And that is, how do we increase efficiency? It's a deceptive question, and it is one that is often abused and used to mislead. It starts with, of course, defining what we mean by efficiency. And most of us would agree that it means getting from point A to point D as quickly and painlessly as possible. But if life were only that simple. Before I discuss how it applies to biomedical product R&D, let me share my experience as a chief election officer for the state of Virginia to illustrate how important it is to properly define or even understand what you mean by efficiency. As a chief election officer, I work for the state in setting up and operating a voting site. I'm typically sent to a school where I and my assistant chief meet with the school administration a few days before the election to see the room where we will set up and run the voting machines and the voting booths, etc. We're all volunteers, and the state tries to ensure that both Republicans and Democrats are adequately represented on each crew. And we do a pretty good job of that. Now, at first glance, you'd think that running an efficient election would simply be ensuring that people who have the right to vote come in and vote as quickly as possible. But that is only one part of an efficient election. In fact, on one level, it may be the least important. The most important part of the election is that people have confidence that the election is being run openly and honestly, that they have confidence. How quickly people come in and out can be an issue, but it is not often a major issue. Long lines only become a problem when people view them as a way of not running an open and honest election. For example, during every presidential election that I've worked on, there have always been long lines forming early in the morning, almost like waiting in line to get rock and roll tickets. So there are lots of people waiting for us when we open the polls at 6 a.m. But no one complains that they have to wait because everyone understands what's going on first thing in the morning. Everyone wants to vote before they go to work, and we only have so many pieces of equipment and so much capacity to allow everyone to vote at one time. So long lines, long waits at other times, however, without any obvious explanation. Now that raises some different questions about how open and honest an election has been. So there have been instances reported in the media and elsewhere where lines have been long with the suspicion that that was just a way to put a damper on participation. But, again, that goes to the heart, not of a line, but of whether there's confidence in the process. So I would suggest to you also that when I run an election site inside a school, another measure of efficiency is ensuring that voters and other people are not wandering the halls. Now, that means ensuring the safety of everyone is another measure of efficiency of my election site. Now, there are also rules I have to enforce to ensure that no one presents a barrier to the voting site. So political parties are required to locate their stands some distance away from the entrance of the polling place so that people can come in and out without being accosted. Now, my ability to ensure proper access is another way to measure the efficiency of my election site. So as you can see, efficiency is more than how quickly people get to vote. And when it comes to biomedical research and development, most of us will say that efficiency could be defined as getting a product from the discovery stage to the market as quickly as possible. But that can't be what we mean by efficiency in this regard. We insist first that products are safe and that they're effective and that they meet quality standards. And that sounds great, but it also has hints of the 20 patients I have waiting to see the doctor that I mentioned earlier. Those seem like very simple premises that actually are not as simple as they sound. For our purposes, efficiency also means that manufacturers must have the ability to make as much as they can from their discovery. We don't have price controls, although we are seeing some embarrassing incidents in which price of generics have gone through the roof when Martin Shkreli raised the price of Daraprim 5,000%. So the ability of patients to afford the products are considered a part of efficiency, but where it ranks in the research and development and pharmaceutical industry is an open question. We also struggle with efficiency when we contemplate what is safe. For example, we have compassionate use rules to allow people with terminal illnesses to take products that have not gone through phase 3 clinical trials. So we're not even sure if it works. We're not sure exactly how safe they are, but we are willing to, in some cases, let people take drugs that have not fully been vetted. Now, as an aside, we should recognize there is a similar dynamic at work with smart cars and autonomous vehicles. This is not a series of issues that's confined to pharmaceuticals. And what I mean by that is, for instance, supporters of driverless cars suggest that the longer it takes to get these cars into widespread use, the more people we are allowing to be killed in traffic accidents. So people are dying, oh my God, because we're moving too slowly on smart cars, according to some people. So we also have to consider, in that regard, how much patients must be told and how much doctors should be trained in prescribing products if we want to discuss the definition of efficiency, because they're the ones who are going to be putting them in place and adopting it. So we have a lot of things on our plate to consider when we're talking about efficiency. Now, I'll give you an example in regard to patient and doctor education, which has nothing to do with the actual chemical compound. And that is FDA wants to increase training on the use of opioids to ensure that we do all we can to minimize addiction and abuse. Now, that's above and beyond finding a drug that is a pain reliever that can go to the market. So we have a lot of other things that go into defining efficiency in the pharmaceutical markets other than going from point A, the lab, or some dirt, into a package on a pharmacy shelf or in a hospital's formulary. Now, on the patient consumer side, we struggle with efficiency also when we examine how informed consent should work or what rights patients should have to control the information for research. So, what is efficiency in that regard? Is it, again, getting a drug to market quickly or respecting the rights of people whose information you may need to prove safety, efficacy, etc.? So, what I'm hoping becoming clear to you is that efficiency in biomedical product R&D is not simply find the drug, test the drug, and sell the drug.